purchased all the things that we need. We've got oil, we've got an oil filter, we've got an air filter, we've got new spark plugs and a fuel filter, and we've warmed up the engine. The engine was nice and warm, so the oil's nice and loose and can drop down out of the engine easily. It's been sitting now for a few minutes, so I expect all the oil's fallen down into the oil pan. Let's take out the sump bolt. This car's so low, I did hit the oil pan. I had to fix it up with a little bit of this chemi weld, but that's no problem. It only leaks a tiny little bit. Let's take off that sump plug. The rule is, with sump plugs, they're either in tight or they're not in at all. Never put a sump plug in and then just leave it finger tight. It's too easy to forget that you didn't tighten it up properly. If it's in, it's tight. If it's out completely. That's the rules. As you undo the filter, it tightens up on the filter and you can get it off. And that is only if the last guy who put it on too tight. Let's see how it works. So, if you're lucky enough that your filter is like this car and it sits that way on the engine, it means that you have a chance to fill it up with clean oil when you put it on. And that means that it doesn't take so long for the oil to get up into the engine. So let's do that now. Let's fill her up. Use a little bit of that clean oil around the seal. Goes down fairly quickly. Give a chance to fill it back up again. Don't overfill it obviously because it's going to spit out on you. But that's pretty good. Better than nothing. Let's put it back on. Let's give this filter body a bit of a clean. Like that. The rule is spin it on nice and slowly. Make sure it's not crossed across the thread. And then you don't need to screw the thing so tight. Just let it touch the body. 1, 2, 3, just a little bit of torque on it, and that's all you need to do. It's not going to move. Makes it a lot easier to get off next time. Let's give the bottom of this engine a bit of a clean. And while we're under here, we'll have a quick look for any damage. But everything looks fine under here. Let's go back up top. Just to check how much oil it had in it. Then you know if your motor's been burning oil or not. As you can see, this car's very low. I don't think it's been burning oil, I think it's been leaking oil. Inside here is your oil filler cap. Notice the inside here, it's nice and black. What I mean by when I say nice and black, I mean it's not milky. If it was milky colour, or any sort of like churned up sort of black and milky type colour, that means there's water getting inside your oil, and that's a big problem. That means that you've got a major problem in your cylinder head or somewhere else where the water's leaking from your cooling system into your engine oil, and that's bad. You don't want that. Okay, so we've dropped the oil, and this is what we got. Sitting up on this peg, draining, and that's the oil that came out. Pretty horrible. It has been a long time since this car had its last service. It's got no oil in it. If you walked away from this project right now and someone jumped in the car and started it because they want to move it out of the way or something like that, your engine could get ruined. So don't leave the project like this. Engine oil has been taken out. It's got a new filter on it. Let's get the oil straight back in it before anyone can damage the engine. For this job today I'm using Castrol Magnatec 10W30. Great engine oil, seems to do everything we need. Specification tells us that this engine only takes 3.3 litres worth of oil. That's only a little bit of oil, and they unfortunately only sell these containers in 5 litres. So there's going to be some left for top-ups later. Here's a bit of a tip for you. A lot of people want to start pouring the oil out of the container this way, but it's very hard to be accurate when you pour it like that. It's a lot more accurate to pour the oil out over the spout like that. You'll get the spout a lot closer to your funnel this way. Here on the dipstick there's 2 marks. This is the high mark and that's the low mark. Always fill up your oil till it's about there. Well, actually in this case we want to fill it up a little bit higher, because when we start the engine it's going to fill up that oil filter even more and use a little bit. So it's okay if we go a little bit above the high mark, because the engine will fill up lots of different little cavities and it'll come back down to the proper level. Spot on at the moment, so let's put a little bit more in. I have heard of someone filling up the oil until it was level with the filler here. Don't do that, not suggested. This old car has a service period of 5,000 kilometres, so every 5,000 kilometres it needs its oil changed, and every 10,000 kilometres needs the oil and the filter changed. Just using a little bit of compressed air to blow out in and around the base of these spark plug holes. Bit of a twist to sort of break them off the plug, and then pull them out like that. There's your spark plug down in there. Just really careful when undoing spark plugs. They can seize in there. The way that they're made, the way that they sit inside the cylinder head, water can sit in there, can cause corrosion, and the plugs can get really stuck. You just have to feel if it comes out smooth. If it starts to come out and then it binds up again, maybe there's a bit of corrosion in there. This one's coming out nice and smooth, so I think it's okay. Take a bit of a look at that plug. It's beautiful. This colour here is perfect. Not too black, not too white, just nice. It is, however, pretty old. It's done a lot of work, this spark plug, so it's well due for a change. Here's the new spark plug. It's a BP5ES. That's the plug for this engine. Specifies here that you only give it 1/16 of a turn once the spark plug beds down. And also this has already been gapped. This gap here is very important, but this spark plug, the gap has already been set, so we don't have to worry about it. I always like to check that these caps are nice and tight, because sometimes they can be loose on some plugs. If you drop a spark plug, you're going to have to buy a new one, because you never know, it could be cracked inside this porcelain and the spark will leak out into some other place and your engine will misfire. Let's try not to drop it. This spark plug socket, which is a 21mm, has a rubber insert inside which holds the plug nice and securely, so when you flip it upside down it doesn't fall out. Sometimes you can put a little bit of anti-seize on these threads. I don't have any, so I'm not going to do it. Always like to start these spark plugs by hand. Bed them all the way down as far as you possibly can. There you go, it's stopped now. Let's get my ratchet and bed it down the last little bit. That's it. And it's in. Got all 4 plugs. I've just labelled them 1, 2, 3, 4, so I know which cylinder they came out of. Now, if we have a look at them all, they're all very even. You can see the same colours on all 4. So that tells me that this engine's been running very well. It's nicely tuned, it's running perfectly. Got no reason to keep these, all the cylinders look good. Let's move on. Over here we've got the air cleaner. Don't underestimate the value of checking the air cleaner. A dirty air cleaner can really reduce the performance of your car. Just a couple of clips to open up this box. Push down on here. That's the air cleaner element. As you can see, this is pretty dirty. It really does need changing. If you're not changing your air cleaner, a good way to check it is to put it up against the sun. Look through it, look through this side, with that side facing the sun. And if you can see any direct sunlight coming through the air filter, you know there's a hole in it and you need to change it. This air filter is getting a change right now. These air filters are great. Look at the difference. It's going to make a big change to the performance of this car. Moving on now, down to the battery. A lot of the batteries now are maintenance-free batteries. You don't have to open them up and fill them up with distilled water like you used to. Through this glass window on the battery, it'll have a colour in there. Normally if you see a green sort of colour in there, the battery's okay. I can see mine doesn't have a green colour in there, so I might just take this brace off and check the levels of water. Thought I finally had a use for the stubby screwdriver. Turns out I was wrong, it's still useless. Other things to check are your radiator coolant level. This bottle should be half full. You can check your dipstick again. Here it is, spot on.